Welcome to today's video on the hidden trap of family immigration filings, specifically when the I-539A is not your friend. First, we will set the stage by explaining why bundling family applications can go wrong. Then, we will explore what Form I-539 is and what the I-539A is intended for. By the end, you will understand exactly when to file together and when to file separate applications to protect your family status. Here is our roadmap. First, we will cover why this topic matters. Next, we will clarify the difference between I-539 and I-539A. Then, we will detail the two non-negotiable rules for bundling co-applicants. After that, we will unpack the status trap involving principal versus derivative statuses. We will then share the safest filing strategy with practical examples. We will test your understanding with a couple of quick quizzes. And finally, we will summarize the key takeaways and provide resources. Before we proceed, please note that this content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Every immigration case is unique, and small details can significantly change what is appropriate. For advice tailored to your situation, consult a qualified immigration attorney. This topic matters because one incorrect assumption about bundling family members on a single filing can lead to a rejection. Consequently, that rejection can cause a lapse of status, which may introduce serious downstream consequences for future immigration options. Understanding the rules ahead of time helps you avoid unnecessary denials, preserve status, and reduce costs in the long run. Let's clarify the basic distinction. Form I-539 is the primary application used by an individual to request an extension of stay or a change of status. In contrast, Form I-539A is a supplemental sheet used only to list eligible co-applicants, namely a spouse and unmarried children under 21, but only when strict criteria are satisfied. Misunderstanding or misusing I-539A is a frequent cause of filing rejections. There are two non-negotiable requirements for bundling co-applicants on a single I-539 with I-539A supplements. First, every co-applicant must currently hold identical non-immigrant status, or a derivative of the same principle. Second, they must all be seeking the exact same action, whether that is an extension or a change, and to the same target status if changing. If either of these requirements is not met, do not bundle the filings. Instead, file separate I-539 applications for each person. Here is the trap. Principal statuses such as F1, H1B, or L1 are legally distinct from derivative statuses such as F2, H4, or L2. Because of this distinction, a principal and a derivative do not have identical current statuses. Therefore, they cannot be co-applicants on a single I-539, even if they are all changing to the same new derivative status, such as R2. In that scenario, each family member must submit a separate I-539. This decision flowchart starts with a family intending to file one I-539. The first decision checks whether all applicants have identical current status or derivatives tied to the same principle. If not, they must file separate applications. If yes, the second decision confirms whether all applicants seek the identical action and target status. If that fails, they must separate their filings. If it passes, the final decision verifies that the co-applicants are a spouse or unmarried children under 21. If that fails, do not bundle. If it passes, then a single I-539 with I-539A supplements is appropriate. On the left, the principal holder, such as an F1 student or H1B worker, holds the primary status. Their filings often involve different forms. For example, H1B uses the I-129 rather than I-539. Critically, a principal cannot be listed on I-539A as a co-applicant. On the right, derivative dependents like F2 or H4 rely on the principal's status and generally use I-539 for extensions or changes of status. Derivatives may be co-applicants via I-539A only if the identical status and identical action requirements are both satisfied. Here is a safe filing workflow. First, document each person's current status precisely. Second, determine whether all applicants have identical current status or derivatives tied to the same principle. If not, do not attempt to bundle. Third, ensure that all applicants are seeking the identical action and target status. If that is not true, do not attempt to bundle. Fourth, If both criteria are satisfied, and the co-applicants are the spouse or unmarried children under 21, then use one I-539 with I-539A supplements. Fifth, if any condition is not met, file separate I-539 applications for each family member. Sixth, verify each dependent's eligibility and age before listing them on I-539A. Seventh, include clear cover letters so adjudicators can quickly understand the request and family relationships. Finally, monitor expiration dates and file early to prevent lapses of status. This table illustrates common scenarios. When all applicants are H4 dependents extending H4, or all B2 visitors extending B2, bundling is generally appropriate. However, when an F1 principal and F2 dependents plan to change to R2, they cannot bundle because the principal and derivative statuses are not identical. In the H1B principal plus H4 dependent situation, the principal uses a different form entirely, so they cannot be co-applicants on I-539. Mixed actions within a family, such as one person extending, while another changes status, break the identical action requirement. Finally, a dependent who has turned 21 is not an eligible co-applicant on I-539A. Quiz time. The question is, a family has an F1 principal and two F2 dependents. All want to change status to R2. Can they file one I-539 with I-539A sheets together? The options are: Option A, yes, because they want the same new status. Option B, no, because the principal and derivatives do not have identical current status. Option C, yes, if they pay an extra fee. Option D, yes, but only if they include a letter. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is no, because the principal and derivatives do not have identical current status. Even though they are all seeking to change to R2, their current statuses are not identical. Therefore, they must file separate I-539 applications. Here is the second quiz. Two B2 visitors want to extend status. One of them plans to change to F2 later, but not now. Can they bundle their extension on one I-539? The options are: Option A, yes, because both are B2 now. Option B, no, because they are not seeking identical actions at this time. Option C, yes, if they are married. Option D, no, because B2 cannot be extended at all. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is yes, because both are B2 now. Since both are requesting the identical action of extending B2 status in the present filing, they can bundle the extension. A future plan to change status later does not affect the current identical action requirement. This sequence diagram illustrates separate I-539 filings. The principal prepares an I-539 packet. Dependent 1 and Dependent 2 each prepare their own I-539 packets. Each pays a separate fee and submits the application. USCIS receives each packet, issues individual receipt notices, and adjudicates each case independently. The diagram emphasizes that outcomes are independent, meaning one approval does not guarantee another, and one rejection does not necessarily affect the others, if properly filed and maintained. This mind map starts with the root concept of non-immigrant status, branching into principal statuses like F1, H1B, and L1, and derivative statuses like F2, H4, and L2. Side notes clarify that the legal definitions differ between principal and derivative statuses, which is why they cannot be co-applicants on a single I-539. The map also highlights that I-539A is only for eligible spouses and unmarried children under 21, when the identical status and identical action requirements are satisfied. Here are the key practical tips. Verify that every co-applicant's current status is identical. Confirm that the action requested is identical, including the target status if changing. If anything is uncertain, default to separate I-539 filings to protect status. Pay attention to ages, because I-539A can only include a spouse and unmarried children under 21. Remember that principals and derivatives are legally distinct and cannot be listed together on one I-539. Finally, although multiple fees can be frustrating, they are often far less costly than losing status and attempting to recover from a rejection. Let's address the cost question. Attempting to bundle to save filing fees is risky if you do not fully satisfy the identical status and identical action requirements. A rejection can cause a lapse of status and jeopardize future immigration options. Therefore, the safest default strategy, when statuses are not strictly identical, is to file separate I-539 applications for each family member. To wrap up, remember that Form I-539 is the main application, and I-539A is merely a supplemental list for eligible co-applicants. Bundling requires identical current status and identical action. Principals and derivatives are legally different and should not be co-filed on a single I-539. When in doubt, file separate I-539S to protect status, despite the additional fees. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you avoid a filing pitfall, please like the video, share it with your family, and subscribe for more clear immigration guides. In the comments, tell us what status combination you are navigating and what questions you want answered next. See you in the next video.